Imagine spending 27 years in prison, not for a crime but for your beliefs. You wake up every day in a 6 by 8 foot cell, breaking rocks under the sun, dreaming of freedom you may never see. Yet when you finally walk out, you don't seek revenge, you seek forgiveness. This is the story of Nelson Mandela, the man who taught the world that true power isn't domination, it's peace. Nelson Mandela was born in 1918 in a small village in South Africa called Mvezo. He grew up under the shadow of apartheid, a brutal system that divided people by race, where a black majority was ruled by a white minority. As a young man, Mandela studied law and saw how his people were denied basic rights. He realized that words alone would not change the system. Action was needed. So he joined the African National Congress, ANC, fighting not with hatred but with hope. Mandela's activism made him a target. He was arrested multiple times, banned from speaking, and forced to live underground. But instead of surrendering, he became more determined. He once said, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities." That ideal, simple yet revolutionary, would cost him nearly 3 decades of his life. In 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment. He was sent to Robben Island, a place so harsh it broke most men within months. The prisoners were forced to break stones by hand. They were denied contact with family, barely allowed to read or write. But Mandela found freedom inside those walls. He read, he taught, he listened, he became a leader, not of soldiers, but of spirits. Other inmates said, even in prison, Mandela walked like a president. His dignity couldn't be chained, and his silence became louder than the government's oppression. As the years passed, the world began to notice. Protests erupted. Leaders demanded his release. But Mandela refused to compromise his principles for comfort. He once said to his guards, "You can have my freedom, but you will never have my dignity." Finally, in 1990, after 27 years, the prison gates opened. Mandela walked out, tall, calm, unbroken. The crowd roared, the world watched, and Mandela smiled, not in triumph, but in peace. Four years later, Nelson Mandela became the first black president of South Africa. But what made him extraordinary wasn't the title. It was what he chose to do with it. He invited his former jailers to his inauguration. He shook hands with the men who once locked him away. He believed that revenge would destroy the nation, but forgiveness could rebuild it. When people asked how he endured such suffering, he replied, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." Mandela's leadership transcended power. He wasn't just building a country, he was healing a soul. He united a divided nation through compassion, not control. He wore a rugby jersey of the national team, once a symbol of white dominance, and turned it into a symbol of unity. He showed that strength is not in fists or armies, but in the courage to forgive. Mandela passed away in 2013, but his spirit still moves through the world every time a leader chooses peace over pride or compassion over cruelty. He proved that freedom isn't given, it's earned, and that true victory is not in conquering others, but in mastering yourself. Nelson Mandela once said, "It always seems impossible until it's done." He taught us that no cell can cage a determined heart, no chain can bind a free soul, and no hatred can survive forgiveness, because freedom was never free. It was paid for by courage, by pain, and by love strong enough to forgive the unforgivable.